So how do we start this?
Where do we start?
Where do we begin?
I don't even know. So we were both making stuff for each other on our solo projects, right?
Yeah.
Working together. And we looked at each other and went,
It'd be rude not to.
yeah.
And one of us said, let's call it Dumb Buoys Fishing Club. I can't remember who.
I think it was you. I think it was
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I'm the genius behind the whole thing.
Yeah. No, well, he said, let's call it Dumb Buoys Fishing Club. And immediately there was a vision, an image in each of our heads.
In both of our minds, yeah.
Yeah. Just,
This universe just went and it presented itself.
yeah.
We were meeting like maybe once or twice a month to kind of just put loads of ideas down, and then it became very obvious very quickly that this project was something that we both really, really were passionate about.
Yeah, it kind of started as a joke, to be honest.
Yeah, we didn't think that it had any legs.
No.
We were calling ourselves Dumb Buoys Fishing Club, but
Yeah. And now we're stuck with it.
now we're stuck with it.
Yeah, this is where it all started.
Yeah,
In here.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was living down in Hastings at the time, which is obviously a seaside town, fishing town. There were a couple of occasions where Dad came to visit and we made some music down there, and it kind of really allowed us to get into that headspace of the fishing vibe,
Yeah.
the fishing universe.
It felt, everything that we did felt like it just landed at the perfect spot.
Yeah.
And like, we weren't thinking about the whole thing. We never had this whole idea set up. Like, we were just like, okay, let's go down this path and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
And I think as far as we kept going with it, it just opened up to all these different opportunities that we thought, that's a really great way of describing anxiety, or that's a really great way of like describing like misogyny. Like, there were just different moments that we could really pick apart and like use this fishing concept as a way of describing how we're actually going.
Yeah. Talking about serious topics, sort of masked underneath the kind of semi-serious concept. But the music's always been serious underneath that whole visual aspect of being two sort of unhinged fishermen. You know, we listen to so many artists that have a concept behind their project, a sort of vision that drives it forward, and we kind of always wanted to do that and sort of remove ourselves from our solo projects, which are a lot more personal.
It allowed us to sit in a lane which we couldn't necessarily do for our own.
Yeah.
We didn't feel it was right for our own project, so we created this thing called Dumb Buoys Fishing Club, which allowed us to do that.
Yeah, these fishermen who are outcasts from society and live their lives on the sea and kind of write about their experiences, and they go through experiences that, you know, any young man goes through, but they're kind of just heightened because of the nature of their characters and the fact they're these sort of degenerate fishermen.
Yeah, we started it as very much one story, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's obviously gone off on these different tangents and different avenues. You know, there's a song that's like, we meet a fortune teller and she tells us our fortune, and then there's a song from the fish's perspective, and you know, there's all sorts of stuff.
It's very fun. It allowed us to kind of just be a lot more free with it, I think, and detach it from ourselves.
Yeah,
you know?
I always say it like, it's when we shut it off to one singular subject, as in fishing, you just open this door to this whole world of opportunity to write about.
For sure. And another aspect of it that's super important was the collaborative side of things, because obviously it started through collaboration in itself between me and you.
Yeah.
We took inspiration from a lot of our favourite kind of collaborative projects that we listened to, and we wanted to kind of emulate that because we wanted it to feel like a collective. Like when you're listening as a listener, you get the impression that we were just having loads of fun making this stuff with loads of friends in the room, and that's kind of how it turned out.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
This project is fun, and we've had so much fun doing it that we really want that to just come across when we're doing it live. We want people to come down and lose themselves. You know, it's that energy and that thing that we wanted to encapsulate of just having a good time and not really caring about it too much.
Yeah. You should fuck this whole content thing off and just have a beer.
Yeah, I'll do that, mate. I'll do that.
Yeah, we've had a very clear vision of what we've seen this as, and we only had one person in mind to help us create that, which is Alex Evans, our creative director. And together we've been working on these ideas, and Alex has put together these worlds and animations, visualizers, which help create this feeling and the world in which the songs sit in, which has only kind of brought to light how fucking sick this project is.
Yeah.
We knew, and then Alex did his thing. It was like, okay, right, If this shit doesn't fly, I'm honestly out of answers.
I'm done. I'm quitting music.
I'm out of answers.
Don't touch my shit. I touch whatever I like.
Core of this project is fishing and everything fishing wise. So in order for us to really feel like we had fully become these characters and got it into the world that we created with our dear friend Alex, is by getting on a fishing boat. And that's what we did. We went to Hastings. We got on the oldest fishing boat on the fleet, on the dock. I think it's the only fishing boat made out of wood.
Yeah, left
in Hastings.
The rest of the boats are now made out of fiberglass for health and safety reasons.
Fantastic. Oh, thanks for letting us know.
Good morning, Daniel. How did you sleep? Slept alright. Yeah. 5 a.m. Had to get on a boat. Get on a fucking boat. What is going on right now? Here we go. Yeah.
Shut me down and she read my tarot. She the bow and arrow, I'm the last drop at the bottom of the barrel. Flow narrow, when she comes close to the boat goes shallow. She a late night channel, I'ma turn around, watch you all up.
We're inside the helm of the boat.
Bit choppy.
Getting it sorted, mate. Here we have a go.
Fucking hell. Look at that.
Spin it back around.
Look at that.
Yeah, we've got to spin it back around now.
Perfect. All right.
Let's do it.
Hasn't anybody told you you're a bloke who's soft in the middle like tofu? And I'ma play you like a game of Sudoku. 24 carats of my chain and my go-to.
Hey, walk back with me, walk back with me.
On the seaside, doesn't like I'm living in the beach.
And then walk forward with me.
She's my honey.
Fuck yeah. Do you want to
They're alive.
Oh, I don't want to touch it though.
Yeah. Excuse me, mate.
Let's get into it. Let's get into
let's do it.
track.
Let's do it.
Formula is the perfect track for us to start the whole record because it just shows to everyone we're not fucking around here.
Yeah.
This is we're telling people we have got a formula and they're about to experience it.
It kind of just shows the listener what we're all about as characters, and it's kind of just that energy straight from the jump.
And we wanted a track that was like that NERD feel, but we had this kind of beautiful atmospheric kind of feeling that we went to in the pre that then snaps back into that like hip hop influence beat with the kind of the 90s, you know, Pharrell guitar.
Yeah. We did a trip out to LA to just kind of get the last cherry on the cake in terms of features for the record. And one of the guys we linked up with when we were out there is Merlin from Brockhampton, who he actually ended up on 2 songs as well. But we met up with him for the first time when we were out there, and he brought a really great energy to the room. He kind of strolled in with his dog called Energy as well. His dog's called Energy. And he kind of went, you know, just play me what you want to play me and I'll see what I vibe with. And Formula was one of the first tracks he played him, and you could tell he immediately was attracted to it. And he jumped straight on the mic. And first take, I think it was the first take.
I think we used the first or second take.
Yeah.
Which is great.
He just brought that energy straight into it.
He is the king of ad-libs. For whatever reason, like, he'll be like, okay, run me.
Yeah, it was an art form in itself.
It's beautiful. Like, every single ad-lib track that we got with him, I just wanted to use.
Yeah.
I think we did. You asked him what hit a lick was. Lick, 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 hit a lick.
Yeah.
How does one hit a lick?
How does one hit a lick? I could tell you, but then I'd have to call the police.
It was really great to get into the studio with different people and add their energy to the project, because then it has become what it's become. And I don't think, without us being open to that, I think it would have been a completely different project.
Totally.
One of my favourite parts in this track is the outro that we were toying around with, the snake charming. We had in mind, we had these like this snake charmer, like with all these seagulls like sort of losing consciousness and like flying out the sky like rain, whilst the snake charmer was like taming them down. That is my favourite part of the song. That was it. the moment we added that acoustic guitar, that wasn't in the original demo.
We just immediately heard it in our heads. Like there was a point in the session where we both looked at each other and went,
just a dry acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's funny enough, that's the hardest sounding instrument on the whole thing.
I think also one of my favourite parts of that track is the lyric, "Take a ride on the octopus. Tentacles suck you dry." Every time I show someone that song, that's the lyric that they can.
Yeah.
You can hear them like their ears perk.
What is the whole chorus? Under me free. Come and jump overboard with us. Spread your wings and you'll fly. Take a ride on the octopus. Tentacles suck you dry. We got that secret formula. Fortune Teller was a track that we came up with the title. That was the first thing we said about it. We were like, we have to write a song where these fishermen, you know, get thrown up onto this beach and they kind of go down this path and then they find this shack and it turns out to be this fortune teller's hut. And they go inside and they meet this fortune teller and she tells them about, you know, their destiny and their
also their past, kind of revealing parts of the fisherman's character to themselves, because I think it's very clear as you listen to this project that these characters are very troubled. Kind of part of the album is sort of self-discovery. It actually taught me a lot about my own personality, kind of getting into that headspace of being quite kind of vulnerable, but also just being able to fully back yourself as well, like these fishermen do.
We went to my parents' house for like 3 days because we wanted to get out of this studio, not with any expectation. We just had a laptop. And like my first ever guitar that I bought was at the house.
That bass line that you hear throughout the track is actually a guitar pitched down.
Yeah, that's my first ever guitar that we pitched down. Yeah. It sounds like a bass, and it was really simple. I remember we were like we started with the chorus. Oh snap, to protect, got us in her booby trap, and we wanted to make something that was so simple, so sing along. And we both had a verse. I remember we wrote that in like an hour. That was the first thing we wrote, I think.
Yeah.
As well as having amazing collaborators on the project, we wanted to make sure that there were a few tracks where it was just me and Hal. Yeah. And this one never felt like it needed anything more on it. We felt like this was so solid as a track on its own, and we want to make sure that there was enough room for those sorts of tracks on the record. So this one was kept. Skeleton Town is when someone tries to talk shit about you and your homies,
and you're having none of it,
and it's not happening.
Yeah.
This is about, if you're look, you're welcome to come and join, but don't talk shit about this gang, because we are the Dumb Buoys Fishing Club.
Yeah, we're gonna check you into Skeleton Town, bitch.
Yeah, we wouldn't. We're
pussies, but the Dumb Buoys would.
Dumb Buoys in the building.
I don't know about you, but when we wrote Skeleton Town, that for me kind of that was the moment where the penny dropped, and I was like, okay, this project is real. You know,
I think that's where it became clear of what we wanted out of the stuff that we were creating on this record.
Yeah,
we realised that we were writing a very dark record which had this overriding theme of a storm brewing or in the midst of a storm, and we wanted to give that energy on every track, and this was the first track which we both looked at each other and thought, shit, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Also, it kind of was one of the first tracks that we wrote where I just immediately could see the live side of things, like performing, very, very, very performative track, and channels this kind of Beastie Boys energy that we hadn't quite tapped into before with the tracks that we've been writing. And this was the other track that Merlin featured on.
Yeah, a good friend of ours showed him a track, and he was immediately into it, I think. And we got sent this message, really lovely message individually in the morning from Merlin saying he was into the project and he's going to send over a verse. Then the week after that, he cut the verse. And that's when it became more, I guess, clear to us that we wanted it to be as collaborative as it is now.
Yeah.
So that was when we thought, okay, let's take a few trips, let's go out to LA, let's get a few people over here and make it a real collective. Our friend Cairo puts in the final verse. We actually had to take it out for a bit because we were trying to work out how the structure worked. And I remember the moment that we found the perfect place to put it back in, because we were so gutted. We were like, we can't not have Cairo on this. It feels like it's the song that we all created together.
Well, Cairo was one of the first guys that actually jumped on the project with us. He's a friend of ours. He lives in London, and it kind of just started out as a few friends making music, and before we knew it wanted to be that sort of extensive collaboration. You know, he'd always been on the song. So when we had to take him off at that one point, we were gutted, and
we were you and me were constantly back and forth for weeks. We were like, how are we going to do this? Oh, should we not have a minute? And then we just couldn't find it. And the gap, I think we pressed something, muted something accidentally, and it just presented itself. And we slotted it in, and we didn't have to change anything. It just worked absolutely perfectly. And that's what it is today. That's the track.
Yeah.
Chandelier in the Sky started a couple of years ago on a Zoom session with our friend Child, and it didn't really fit into any project at the time, because we weren't really working on it for Dumb Buoys Fishing Club until we went to Los Angeles last November, and we started with it. We opened it up and we had the chorus, and it just immediately was like, this is a Dumb Buoys Fishing Club song. Our friend Bryce Vine came in on the first day, I think it was the first day, immediately cut the verse, and from that point we were like, this we need to focus on this track and get this done.
And then we got Child back in as well, one of the original writers on the initial idea. One of the things that sticks out in my mind is that bass line idea he had at the end, where it was quite chromatic and
kind of made it a bit more psychedelic.
Yeah, and then
trippy.
It laid that foundation of the middle eight, where we kind of added some sort of sitar-sounding guitar on top. And
yeah, the whole vibe of this one was, we wanted it to be a bit trippy, a bit psychedelic. It was that kind of reference of being a bit fucked up, and I think that is definitely a side of the fishermen that we don't talk about too much, but they're definitely these degenerate characters that depend on a lot of substance, and it's the darker side of what the fishermen go through. So we wanted, but it's kind of beautiful as well, because the chandelier in the sky is the stars, you know, the night sky. So it's mentioning those themes.
Yeah, kind of the two fishermen lying down on the bow of the boat, looking up at the stars while tripping off their nads. But yeah, it's very hedonistic in character, like, and I feel like that reflects the characters of each individual. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, nice one. That was cool. Yeah. Love it.
We love it.
Wicked.
Yeah, Dad. You started Life Jacket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did it here.
I remember this.
No, this was like kind of at the end of a session where we kind of got nothing.
We had nothing for the whole day.
Yeah.
And we suddenly started messing around with this sample, which is the beginning of the track, and then we started putting a beat in, and then it just wrote itself.
Yeah. Like we're both big fans of Timbaland and Pharrell Williams, Chad Hugo, that kind of early noughties pop wave.
Yeah.
You know, with hip hop. And we feel like the drums in this are really kind of grooving in a similar way to how Timbaland was.
Yeah, we wanted something really beat driven.
Yeah.
And this was that track where it was like, let's just go as hip hop as we can without it being like unauthentic, inauthentic. Inauthentic? Disauthentic. Authentic. Authentic. Yeah.
No, so like the kind of core of this song is about, it's like an invitation to the listener of just come and get on board with us.
Yeah, it's also it's like highlighting what you enjoy in life, you know, as an individual, like what is the thing that keeps you afloat. It's like that. It's like what it was basically. I remember it was like that thing that we latched onto, and it was like, this is our, like, as the fishermen, it was fishing. Like that was the thing that kept them alive, that kept them going.
Yeah.
For us, it's music. You know, that's what keeps us alive.
Get up, get down, go get your life jacket or you could drown.
Scream went on a journey. Scream started as Eel's Cave.
Yeah.
Which was one of the very first initial ideas. When we were coming up with Dumb Buoys Fishing Club, we were seeing it as a storyline, and Eel's Cave was the tavern that these fishermen would go to and drink at night. And I remember when we first wrote it, we were thinking of the video of like all these like
talent
eels
show.
coming out of the pulling pints, like, and it would turn into really psychedelic. It was a talent show thing.
That whole idea got scrapped.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for it because it evolves into this whole different idea, which actually kind of really cemented itself when we were over in LA, because we had Lauren Sanderson on it, and they really brought the life to track. And
Dyslexic error. Brought the track to life.
They really brought the track to life, you know, because of the energy that they ensued.
Yeah. I think it was always this track was always kind of like, I don't know, we didn't really know what to do with it. So Lauren jumped on it. It was kind of sitting as just part of the collection.
We struggled with that chorus for a while because it always had a simple nature to it, and we kind of thought we could maybe develop on it a little bit more, but we tried a bunch of different ideas and ended up just going with the original idea because it's just this kind of mantra that gets repeated over and over.
The end line used to be when you're in the eel's cave, and now we've changed it to when the icing's on the cake. So no one will ever know until they see this, if they do, if anyone ever watches this, which they probably won't. So no one will ever know.
That's just how the cookie crumbles when you're in the eel's cave.
Right, Creepy Jimmy. This is one of my favourite songs on the record.
Agreed.
And I know it's bad to have favourites, but it's just the most unexpected record that I didn't think we were ever going to write something like this.
No.
It's got that like 80s nostalgia. It's got that like live drums.
It's like
it has
surf
this
rock as
dreamy
well,
surf rock kind of psychedelic feel to it. And this was something we started with our friend Cairo in the room.
This is one of the first ones we started for the whole project. Also, it goes on such a journey. Like, by the end of it, there's kind of this whole gospel scenario going on that we kind of just got our friend Cairo in the vocal booth and we said, look, just don't overthink it. Just riff.
It comes naturally.
And it sort of ended up in some crazy...
I think that's the most beautiful thing about this whole journey for me, is that we were able to have what we've got and create what we love and have fun with what we're having, and then we've got all our mates coming in, putting all these different spices and adding to this concoction, which is just like so organic. It feels so authentic. It feels so real.
It hasn't felt like a chore in any way. You know, it's kind of just all flowed so super naturally.
Yeah, it allows for different genres to be part of what we've created in this collective, which effectively makes up the Dumb Buoys. You know?
Yeah.
Creepy Jimmy is about, you know...
Well, it's a commentary on misogyny, which we obviously both feel passionate about and is still a major problem in today's society. We kind of wanted to write it from a different perspective to kind of highlight the problems that are at the crux of that whole conversation. And then our friend Kaylin, who we actually worked with when we were visiting LA, she's kind of writing from a more voyeuristic perspective. And
This song we wanted to make, you know, really unsettling lyrics, which are thought-provoking and make you think about the different sides, the different perspectives of a
toxic relationship.
Effectively, yeah. And I think with having Kaylin on it and Cairo, they completely got that. And I think we've created this real kind of powerful story within this track. That's why it's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
I count to feel inside your grand's house. Oh my God, you said I'm obsessive when I'm back.
REDZONE was started by a friend of ours.
Shout out Ben.
Big Ben.
From Hastings.
And he brought the beat and Hal brought it in. And it was the first week that we started writing for Dumb Buoys. Me and you put in like 5 days.
Yeah.
I think it was like, it was around Christmas. It was like December 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
We put in 5 days. We're like, right, let's work on something. Let's call it Dumb Buoys Fishing Club. So this, we owe a lot to this track because it was part of that initial batch of music.
Yeah, we dressed up as fishermen every day.
Yeah, we really got into it, didn't we? Yeah.
I mean, the fisherman outfits were questionable. We've definitely developed those.
100%. Yeah. But this track is essentially about keeping within that spot with someone where it's like edging on, what is this? Is this just a vibe that we're both feeling? And we wanted to create that in this, I don't know, this ever edging track, which never really gets there.
Yeah, it's kind of being it's being sort of like kept at optimum pressure.
Yeah, keeping in that red zone of a thermometer, ready to burst,
ready to pop.
Yeah. Then we wanted to create something in the second verse which was going to break records.
Yeah.
So we invited our mate Humble the Great.
He's great at breaking records. Honestly, this guy, he knows.
And he broke the record for the world's shortest verse ever. So well done you, Will. Well done, Humble.
Fucking great.
That's all we can give you. That's all you got time for.
Something like a dope like. I've been in my cabin, now I'm sleeping better. Something
never.
Holster's a track that we didn't even realise we needed until quite late on in the process of making this record. We had a rough chorus idea. What was the original name of it was Bumfluff Beat, I think.
Yes.
Silly name.
I think we should revert back to it, to be honest.
We're quirky like that.
Bumfluff. We started Holster in London. Me and Hal came up with this chorus. Grab your waist, I'll be your holster. It was kind of more of like a endearing love romantic song. And then we took it to LA and we had the chorus. We met our now good friend Layla Blue, who came in and had a really soulful R&B way to her melodies, and we just thought it suited the track so much. So we started working on it, and immediately, we came up with the first verse, and then we wanted her to do the chorus. It sounded beautiful. Hal then put this second verse in, which just complemented what she'd done, and it just the whole thing is just beautiful. Having been able to have the opportunity to put strings on it and make it this real light moment among this dark record, I think it needed that break. Also alluding of things maybe to come from the Dumb Buoys.
Yeah, we really needed that sort of sensitive moment in the record, because I think the exterior outer shell of these two characters is naturally quite harsh and tough. However, when you dig a little deeper, you know that there's kind of the other side of the coin there, where we do have feelings as characters, and we do kind of feel on a deep level.
The fact of this is that the song is so emotive and it's filled with this passion and this story that we wanted the strings to bring out that feeling. And I think that's why it was nice to have the opportunity to do that.
It was the icing on the cake for that track for me. It really kind of sealed the deal.
Sure.
Yeah. By this point in the record, we're kind of entering this new phase of slightly more sensitive and emotional subject matters that we're writing about.
I think also in the storyline, it's like the point at which the Dumb Buoys are waking up a little and thinking, is this life for us? Is this life of debauchery and being these dishevelled characters right for them? And does it suit their current state of emotion? There's a clue in the title.
Yeah, so the Island Part 1 alludes to the fact that we do actually have a Part 2 of the Island written and recorded. I think we actually made Part 2 first, but it didn't make the cut for this record. It didn't make sense putting Part 2 first, obviously. But
it's actually the same sample as well, which we've used in both,
slowed down.
It's just a completely different vibe of it.
The overarching message in this track is it's touching on the subject of, as these kind of dishevelled, crazed individuals that we're playing throughout this record, we kind of isolate ourselves in terms of like opening up new relationships with people. We kind of describe that sensation through talking about feeling like an island, deserted and being isolated.
It's a very introspective track, looking inward and feeling instead of being these characters that we were. And I think it was actually a moment of like actually realness of me and you talking for a second, like not being the Dumb Buoys, being this isolated thing. I think when we were writing this, it was like, we don't know where this project is going. The whole world is in turmoil. It feels like there was a moment of like, hang on a minute. We were actually these two fishermen. Where would we be in the world right now?
Why do I flow so loco crazy? Why do I always over the world don't pay me? Coast to coast, I'm moving wavy.
Drop in the Ocean. What an interesting track. This was one of yours initially.
Yeah, so started this track with my friend George. We started this idea and had no idea what to do with it, and ended up showing Dan, and we kind of both agreed that it would sit well on the project. And this track is built for a live performance. I feel like this will be a heavy hitting track.
Hal especially goes proper Oliver Twist on this one, so watch out for that.
Yeah.
My mother said,
Well, I think now we've entered, like, as I said in the past 2 tracks, we've entered this whole different phase, this whole different stage of the record where it's kind of looking backwards at the past and the past experiences of each character. If you listen to the lyrics carefully, it kind of unearths this quite troubled nature to each one of our pasts, and a lot of trauma is kind of surfaces within the lyrics of this track. And it kind of just adds to the whole mystique of each character and the sort of the story behind each one of our characters as well. 2 troubled individuals living their life at sea.
Gives that unhinged kind of like window opening to their world of these guys are troubled, these guys are fucked up. They're also just on their own, they don't give a fuck about what anyone else thinks. Which is basically where we started this project with, really.
Yeah.
Drinking Town with a Fishing Problem was the climax of this storm. It was where everything went to shit and the fishermen are holding on to this boat for dear life. And then by the end of the track, they're just riding into the distance. You see this sunset slowly rising over the horizon, which gives you, it alludes to where we're going with the next wave of this project.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you look at this record as like an art, what goes up must come down, and then towards the end of the record it gets a lot more sensitive, as we discussed. That's kind of opened the door to a whole different era for Dumb Buoys, and it kind of, you get a taste of that at the end of Drinking Town with a Fishing Problem.
There's a moment that we started with, and we were trying to think about what was a great scene from a movie which would make sense as the video for this track, and we kept on going back to the Wolf on Wall Street scene where they're on a private yacht in the middle of this storm and they have to get saved by a helicopter, and then they end up in the submarine with these sailors, and we just thought that was the perfect moment if we had the right budget. But then we found this clip before that scene starts of Jonah Hill and the lady who's playing his wife going through this argument, talking about chop, obviously the chop of the sea, alluding to chop as in probably like drug reference, and we thought this has to be in the song, and this felt like the right thing to put it in right at the beginning of the track. Kind of gives that like the messiness as well.
No, we're not going anywhere unless he says it's safe, all right?
It's safe. Don't worry about the chop. You don't know shit about chop.
Oh, really? And you do? You're a fucking expert on
I'll chop your fucking credit card in half. How about that?
The beat in the background of this track feels like you're kind of rocking back and forth on the ship, on the storm sea.
Yeah. There's a sound in it, isn't there?
Yeah,
just like constantly throughout, which makes you feel you're in that environment. Also, there's like, you know, as well as the hip hop edge to what we do and the, you know, the kind of the indie edge, there's definitely a lot of rock infused into what we've done with this record, and the guitars and the sound of this particular song really show that, and I think it highlights that kind of that side of what we do, the Rage Against the Machine influence and the kind of the Beastie Boys edge.
I might be lost at sea, but baby, I'm home.
One of my kind of fondest memories of making this record is the ad-libs, recording the ad-libs. Because I've never seen anyone let go of their true sense of self more than this fucking fucker.
It becomes, there's something which erupts. It's like a volcano that just wants to let itself out.
Slithery motherfucker. Mommy, Daddy. To the eel's cave. Ah! Jangle, 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 jangle! Ah!
There's an energy which we've created within this project, and that's all we want to be translated. And I think if people can hear that in the music, if they can feel that from the videos, if they can see that in even from our artwork or to the way we dress, everything in this project has just been created by pure natural energy and natural storytelling, and like it feels like it's something that represents us too as individuals and represents a whole community of people that want to just, you know, describe something in a different way and have a good time and fucking party.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like, also the music industry is so serious, and like
fuck it all.
People don't you know, take a more relaxed approach than enough. And we just really wanted to have fun with it and not take ourselves too seriously. And I sometimes think that
That's
is
right.
the way that the best art gets made.
That's
is
right.
just by having fun with it. And so we're signing off. We're Dan and Hal with the Dumb Buoys
Fishing Club.
Get to know
What?